Welcome back to the channel in the new year of 2024, and you guys have made a lot of assumptions about me over the years, and just recently, last week, you guys made over 1,000 assumptions about me, which I asked for, to be fair. And instead of doing like a Q&A where you ask me questions, I wanted you guys to assume things, and then I will either confirm or deny your assumptions, and that is just an alternate way of learning about me, kind of like a Q&A, but just a little bit different, and in my opinion, I think it's kind of more fun and more interesting. So I'm not going to be able to get through all of these, but I'm going to get through as many as I can, and hopefully the best ones will make it to the video. All right, so I just have these sorted by top comments because I think that's going to be a good place to start. So let's get started. I've always assumed that when you do multiplayer videos, you all know when the cuts will be, so you talk with each other completely differently if it's not going in videos. Kind of yes, kind of no. It's usually once we hit record, it's on, and it's on until we hit record again. But there sometimes are portions of videos, like if there's gonna be like a building time lapse, we'll just be kind of just chatting or whatever, talking about things that we know aren't going in the video because it's a building time lapse. And so we'll be talking like more casually, I guess, and less energetically because we're just sitting there building and not actually like competing or playing, but I think that's pretty normal. That's just kind of how it goes with any type of entertainment thing, really. You're on at some points, and then you're off at some points. All right, up next, you can absolutely shred the harmonica. I've never really played the harmonica, so maybe, probably not. You probably have to practice harmonica in order to be able to shred it. Plain Dumb Variety assumes that I enjoy the community I built over my career, but I really miss my beginnings as a smaller creator. I actually enjoy where I'm at more, probably, because things were really stressful at the beginning when you're first getting started on YouTube, especially the way I did it, where it was like my only source of income and it either worked or would fail catastrophically and I would have to figure out what else I was doing. I think it's probably better if you have a job that is supporting you and then you get into YouTube. For me, I didn't have anything at the time and it was just what I was hoping was going to work, and it ended up working. So the fact that it's grown to what it is now, and I've gotten to the point where I can finally hire an editor and have some more time to myself and enjoy things outside of YouTube, and now it's just kind of like a thing that I do along with the rest of my life instead of my entire life, which for the first 2 years, it was literally my entire life. I think I enjoy where it's a balance like it is now. Then when I was a smaller creator, it wasn't very balanced as a smaller creator. So I'm sure other people have different experience as a smaller creator, but mine was just a lot. It was a lot to handle. So you are correct that I enjoy the community I built over the career. But I think I don't really miss that aspect of it as a smaller creator as much as I do just being where I am now. All right, Snuggles assumes that we film multiplayer Mondays ahead of time, and that way Monday ends up being your actual day off. Therefore, I assume multiplayer Monday never actually takes place on a Monday. Well, multiplayer Monday was always meant to be that is when the video gets watched, not when the video gets recorded. So because we publish it on Monday, we've got to record it before Monday. And that's changed over the years what day it is. Lately, it's been the day before, Sunday. Sometimes it's been Fridays. Sometimes some of us have something going on the weekends, so we'll just do it whenever works for all of us. And scheduling usually isn't really an issue, but that's why some people are in, some people are out some weeks, just because sometimes that day doesn't work for everybody. But it's never on Monday, unless it's for the following Monday. Permanent Ground assumes that I'm really competitive at heart and I have to dial myself back when doing goofy challenges with friends or videos. I don't consider myself a competitive person. I'm more competitive with myself, I think, than other people. I always like to do as well as I think I can do, and I only get annoyed if I think I did something stupid or something like that. But when it comes to competition with other people, my priority is fun. And if I win all the time and the other person doesn't handle it well and it makes them frustrated, I would actually prefer to lose all the time and that person have more fun than me win all the time and they get frustrated. So I actually always hated like competitive team sports in like school and stuff, because there was just always those people who took it really, really seriously and got like super angry if your team lost and stuff. And I just wanted everybody to just enjoy themselves. So as long as people are having fun, I don't care if I win or lose. I just happen to win all the time because I'm just that good, I guess. No, I'm just kidding. I really do. It really doesn't matter to me as long as people are having fun. Nisho assumes that my aim in FPS style shooting games is terrific and my game sense is very good, but I decided to play other games to mask your skill. I don't really know what that means about masking my skill, but I would say that my aim in FPS shooting games is higher than average for people who don't play a lot of FPS shooting games, and it's probably about average for people who do play a lot of FPS shooting games. Because my computer gaming experience actually started with FPSs. There was this game called America's Army, which was just a free to download first-person shooter made by the actual US Army, mostly as like a recruiting tool to be like, oh, look how cool military stuff is and look how fun it is. But that was my first introduction into playing games on a computer and not a console. I was always like Nintendo and PlayStation before then. And then America's Army was my like opening up into using a mouse and keyboard to play a game. And then I think the next game after America's Army that ended up really just kind of breaking me into shooters in general was Battlefield 2, which came out when I was like 15 in 2005. So that gives you an idea of like my timeline on computer games. First-person shooters were always my favorite. They still always hold a place in my heart for like, I just enjoy a really good first-person shooter. I'm less into the multiplayer stuff as I used to be, and now I just like a good like single-player shooter game. Ryladu assumes, I keep saying ass, but these are assumptions, assumes that my favorite part of Trailmaker's Spacebound update is the asteroid dwarf planet in the asteroid cluster. I think my true favorite part of the update is just the new control blocks, the gyros and the quantum rudder and just those kind of things. The asteroid dwarf planet just gave me the most inspiration for new video ideas in and of themselves. But as far as my actual, I think the best part of the update is the gyros and stuff. The Hugh assumes I want to do more multiplayer Mondays that are not in Mondays. Well, that's just multiplayer videos, which I do. We do multiplayer videos that aren't on Mondays. Multiplayer Monday is just a very specific multiplayer thing in Scrap Mechanic that happens every Monday. My 20089 assumes that I come up with all the multiplayer Monday videos ideas, and that's just not true. Sometimes the comments come up with them, sometimes the other guys come up with them, and sometimes I do. There's no real rhyme or reason to it. It's just we all get together and like, what are we doing today? And then somebody suggests something. Fluffy assumes that I'm tired of playing Scrap Mechanic, but continue to upload videos of it. That's actually partly true. Like, I have over 3,000 hours in Scrap Mechanic, and I've uploaded thousands of videos, but it's also my job. Like, that's just part of having a job. Is that's what I do, is I upload Scrap Mechanic content. So that's just something that just comes part of being a YouTuber. And when you have an audience that is there for a certain kind of content, it's really hard to kind of branch out into other things. And I have tried here on occasion. That's why Trailmakers is on the channel now. That was one of the very few successful branches that actually stuck with my audience. At the core of my channel was always Scrap Mechanic, and if it updated a lot more, I'd probably get less tired of it, but it's been so long since an update that it becomes very difficult to keep coming up with new ideas with the same exact gameplay. But that's my job, and it goes in waves. And then when Chapter 2 comes out, I'm gonna be a lot less tired of it, that's for sure. If you can't tell, I'm gonna be very honest about your assumptions. Like, unless it's just a silly one, I'm gonna be honest if it's just a genuine assumption here. Master Chief 7690, you genuinely enjoy what you do, but wish you could spend more time with your family. I think I've finally reached this point where I'm spending more time doing not YouTube things, which includes family. There was a while where I was definitely like, I didn't have enough time to do other stuff, but I think I'm finally getting there. Thanks to having an editor. Shout out to the editor. X Shadowcats X assumes hide and seek is the most fun I've had in Scrap Mechanic for a while. I think so. Yeah, hide and seek has been actually like a refreshing amount of fun when it comes to just how long we've been doing Scrap Mechanic and multiplayer Mondays and stuff. Once we have new parts to build with, it'll be fun to actually do building challenges again. That's one of the biggest challenges with our multiplayer Mondays. If I type in Scrap Mechanic multiplayer, we got my multiplayer playlist in Scrap Mechanic. If I go to view full playlist, there are 375 videos in this playlist. So we've done literally hundreds of ideas using Scrap Mechanic. for multiplayer. So after the first couple hundred, it gets a lot harder very suddenly to keep coming up with new ideas. But the hide and seek has been a really great thing just because we get to see some of like the craziest creations. Because I don't know if you guys, if it ever clicked, but those hide and seek maps that we play on were built manually by people. So we get to show off some of the best creations that exist in Scrap Mechanic, and it's just so interactive, and it's also just great multiplayer back and forth like competition. So we just have a lot of fun with it. Assumption: my April Fool's video setup is my real setup. Well, you can probably tell just by looking behind me that's not true, and I am going to do a setup video actually this very soon, probably this month. I did actually start recording it a while ago when I posted about it on my community tab, but I wasn't happy with how I sounded during it for whatever reason. I just wasn't in the right headspace during the recording, so I never got around to editing it. But I'm gonna try to re-record it, and actually I've obtained some more things in my office since then, so it's gonna be even more up to date than that video would have been. So expect that maybe this month or next month. Assumption: you're smarter than the average person. The things you've made in Scrap Mechanic, Trailmakers, etc. are really impressive, especially considering that you don't have prior experience with engineering and stuff like that. I don't know if I can answer this question. I haven't taken an official IQ test, whether or not that even is a good indicator. I don't know if competing with the average person is a huge accomplishment, to be honest, but if I'm above average, if you think I'm above average, then sure, you're correct. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong on that one. Assumption: Yuzi is your other channel where you build good looking creations that have no functionality and not have people complain because they look really, really good. No, Yuzi's a different channel than me. He's got a face cam now. You can confirm that. Khan, on the other hand, I have nothing more to say about that. Daniel Kraus assumes, I'm skipping the question here, okay? Assumes that me, Khan, and Moonbow play the hide and seek maps for a minute and decide to start recording or not, or you can get lots of custom hide and seek maps submitted to us and pick them with a vote. So the way we pick maps is, I'll just usually sort the workshop by the latest challenge mode creations and just see what the latest hide and seek submissions are. If it looks good based off of the image, so you can usually tell based on the image whether a lot of effort was put into it or not enough effort was put into it, because there's a really high bar for the quality of the maps. So we'll spawn in. If it looks like it's actually pretty detailed and well built, then we'll actually walk around and look for some hiding spots to make sure that it actually is a hide and seek map and they put like spots that make sense. And sometimes it's like too laggy or something, and it's not a good multiplayer experience, so we'll have to actually cancel it even though the map is great. But other times everything just kind of matches up what we're looking for. It's a good, well put together map, it's got a lot of hiding spots, it's not too laggy, and it works for everybody. The Meow Meow assumes that I miss the days where I make daily videos on Trailmakers with me, Khan, Moonbow, and Cosmo. I never made daily videos on Trailmakers with them. I never made daily multiplayer videos ever. There was always like a couple of days a week that were multiplayer. Now, I did make some Trailmakers videos with Khan, Moonbow, and Cosmo a while back, but the only reason we're not doing that anymore is because it only ever performed well on my channel. So it wasn't a good decision for them to keep doing that for their channel. So we still do multiplayer Mondays and stuff, but the Trailmakers just didn't hit as well for their channels as it did for mine. Leno Balando assumes that I get burnt out from all my creative content on YouTube. And if I ever need to take a break, I could tell my whole community and everyone will support me. Well, I don't doubt that at all. And yeah, burnout has always just been right in the background a little bit in the past couple years before I hired an editor. Having an editor has like made a huge difference as far as burnout goes. But yeah, the main burnout wasn't even necessarily from like making content. It was like, it's just coming up with ideas is so hard sometimes when you've done, like I've done, if I go to my channel, 2,500 videos. Like 2,500 videos, like most 95% of which are all like just coming up with an idea and recording it. It gets hard to keep coming up with new ideas. Like, I don't know if that's surprising to anybody else, but I'm honestly surprised I got this far without just completely burning out. That's why I'm always looking for your suggestions and comments to help out with that. So keep leaving those suggestions for video ideas, because sometimes I use them. Zilla assumes that I secretly visit Hank the Haybot in my OG survival world and never film or tell us about it. Actually, I don't think I've been in that survival world since the last recording. Probably. Yeah, I don't think I've loaded into that survival world since then. I hope I can find the right save file because I have so many duplicate save files. Joseph Wright assumes that I would like to be able to play other types of games, but are worried about how your audience and friends that I play with will react to it. I think you likely get bored of some of the content you put out on your channel, but I've grown accustomed to providing content very specific to my normal content, such as building games, and would imagine it can be very difficult to come up with ideas that you feel your audience will want to see within those games and you are comfortable with, so instead you put a spin on your challenges. So yes, in a way, I always am on the lookout for something I think could work on the channel that isn't what I'm currently doing, because the more things that work, the more secure I feel as far as my channel health goes. Because if it's only one thing that's working on the channel, then that's like putting all your eggs in one basket, and then if that basket breaks, then all of your eggs are going to break too. So it's always going to be nice to have multiple things that work, but it is very hard because my audience is here for very specific things, and every single time I try to experiment with something just a little bit outside of that, more often than not, it flops like so bad. And sometimes it's even stuff that I think is like gonna do really good and is related. Like the engineer game that I played a little while ago, like that was my worst performing content in a really long time, and I had a blast playing that game and would have loved to continue with it, but it's just not it would just not be a smart move for my channel health. So I just gotta know what's good and what's bad for the channel and keep with it, and that's part of the job. I feel like you missed the original multiplayer Mondays and doing things with all of your original group. Yeah, I mean, there's fun things about, I think what I miss most about the original multiplayer Mondays was how much unexplored space there was. The biggest like difference between back then and now is like we've done it all. We've done it all now, so it's that much harder to like keep doing more things. Are you guys sensing a theme with a lot of these assumptions and the responses to them? MX assumes that I give off a vibe of hard metal music lover filled with chaos and loud music, but I'm actually a kind and quiet person. I think I do identify with that. I am actually a very quiet person in regular life, and even like with music and stuff. I'm not the type to like, I like always have headphones on, unless I know nobody's around. And I'm not going to bother people. I don't like bothering people. Lenny Man assumes that I sometimes play non-competitively in order to win all the challenges. Oh, in order to not win all the challenges easily and give other players you play with a chance. There have been times when I felt like I had an unfair advantage, and I would like, I don't think I would ever lose on purpose, because it's just, I wouldn't ever want to not try. But I think sometimes I will do more risky things if I feel like I can afford to, you know, take risks like that. I wouldn't say that I've like tried to throw anything or anything like that. I always try. George the Cat assumes that me and my family are very close, and that me and my wife, who we've yet to meet through our hardships, are always right close to each other. Well, we're so close that we actually live together, believe it or not. So it's pretty close. ScrapMan is a musician, so I would assume he would be great at rhythm games. I gotta say, I had a long period where Guitar Hero was like just the thing for me. I was playing on Expert on Guitar Hero all the time. So then when Rock Band came around, I actually really liked the drums on Rock Band, and I was playing like Dream Theater, Panic Attack on Expert drums, barely making it through, but still, it was pretty fun. I really enjoyed those types of games. Mammalian Molasses assumes that I regret choosing the name ScrapMan as it ties me primarily to one game. I actually chose the name ScrapMan to no longer be tied to one game, because my original channel name was Scrap Mechanist, because I didn't actually plan on being a YouTuber. I just wanted to upload some videos showing off some Scrap Mechanic creations. And then once I transitioned into being a YouTuber, I'm like, I kind of want to play other stuff. So Scrap Mechanist was like way too close to Scrap Mechanic, but ScrapMan, it's like scrap is just a normal word. Keyboard Bash assumes that I regularly talk and hang out with Khan, Moonbo, Cosmo, and other creators. I'd say not as much now as we were when we were first getting up on YouTube, because back then, like when we were all first starting YouTube around the same time and starting collaborating together, I think for most of us, YouTube was like, that was our life at the time. So we were a lot more communicative. But I think now it's like 7 years later, we've grown into our adult lives more, and we all have lives and hobbies outside of the computer, and I think we're all embracing that a lot more now. So I don't think we talk as much outside of recording sessions as much as we used to, but of course we still talk every single week at least, and then sometimes we'll share stuff here and there during the week if it's relevant to, you know, what we know about each other. Grady assumes that I make my own awesome thumbnails at 3 a.m. before publishing my super awesome videos at 5 a.m. Well, my videos actually publish at 4 a.m. my time, and sometimes I've made a lot of thumbnails at 3 a.m. right before that video goes live. But a lot less now. Now I'm actually a little bit more normal of a sleep schedule. I'll be making thumbnails, I don't know, like 8 p.m. or it's all over the place, really. It just depends on what my day looks like. Sometimes I work in the evenings, sometimes I work in the afternoon, sometimes I work in the morning. It depends on what I have going on that day. So still yes. Also no. Well, this is very related to what I just said. Man Guy Duder assumes that I have a very specific and organized daily routine, and I like to make plans and stick to them. Well, that is wrong. My daily routine is very non-specific and very disorganized and very, very general. It's like, I have to do this today. The order that it gets done in doesn't matter, as long as it gets done. There are some things I like. I have certain things scheduled throughout the week where I'm like, okay, I do this on Wednesday mornings and that on Saturday mornings, and then I gotta get my work done at some point during the rest of the day. Sam Urban assumes that I rock the slide whistle. Don't think I've ever played one, so I don't know. Kyle assumes that I am an avid miniature collector / painter. Well, I'm definitely not a painter. I'm not a big fan of messy things. Like even in like kindergarten and like elementary school, I hated finger painting. I did not want to get anything on my fingers that if I did this, I could like feel anything like stickiness, anything like that. As far as miniature collectors, not really. Everything that you see behind me was actually given to me. Like I didn't really like go out and seek this stuff. This was all just given to me because I'm a gamer. It's nice to put stuff in my background. So I enjoy getting these things now because I get to build out this cool background in my office and everything, which you guys will see a little bit more details soon enough. But I think that disqualifies me from being an avid collector. The Glitch assumes that I am such a good engineer that I can probably turn washing machines into jet planes in Trailmakers. Okay, in Trailmakers, yes. But in real life, I know very little to nothing about engineering real life things. Everything I've learned about engineering has been through what you've seen on the channel. Like literally everything. That's all of that stuff was new to me. Garlic Breadstick assumes I actually have an artistic sense when it comes to building in Trailmakers, but I hold it back because of rational thinking and challenges. No, it's a real struggle for me to make things look nice. There's a lot of times when I try and fail, and I'm like, this is gonna look cool, I have this awesome idea, and then I'm building it, and I'm like, this is not at all how it looked in my head. With visual arts, that's how I am in general. Like, I've always been that way with drawing, where I'm like, oh, I have this awesome, like, image in my head, let's draw it down on paper, and I'm like, that wasn't it. That's not it at all. Zippy Thing Invention assumes I'm a fan of Gray and struggle not to say yes. I don't actually know how that is said. I don't know what the reference is. I'm assuming that's like a catchphrase from Gray Still Plays. So that answers that question. It's not that I'm not a fan of Gray. It's just that I don't really watch gaming content. I am friendly with Gray. Like we talk here and there and communicate and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't actually watch his content. Blitz Brawl Stars assumes that I want to share my skills with the guitar even more than I have already. I think I'd less so specifically the guitar and more so I just want to share my music more than I have already. I've been working on a lot of music. I've been having a lot of writer's block this past year. So there's a lot of songs that are in the works that I've just struggling to finish, but hopefully soon enough, there's gonna be more stuff. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I have another channel called Catarinth that I upload original music to, mostly related to the metal genre, metal combined with various other types of genres. So I've got all kinds of plans for that channel, but that is very slow going and I put a lot of time into what I put over there. So there's going to be very infrequent, but very significant uploads. At least for me, they are very significant because I put so much into them. So if you haven't seen that channel already, please go check it out and give that stuff a listen. If you like metal and things adjacent to metal, then I think you'll like that stuff too. Tyler Tripp assumes that I actually like Trailmakers a bit more than Scrap Mechanic, but the usual group got bored and stopped playing, so you started playing with Yuzi. So I've already addressed the second half of that, but the first half about liking Trailmakers a bit more than Scrap Mechanic, Trailmakers, frankly, has just had way more content updates, so it's just a lot fresher of a game to continue playing right now. So that's why I've been uploading a lot more on it, because it's easier to come up with more ideas when there's new stuff to play with. So, hint, hint, scrap mechanic, let's get this chapter 2 thing. Michael Hollister assumes that I'm close to releasing another hit over on my channel, Catarinth. I wish I was closer. It's in progress. Let's just say in progress is where I'm at. Austin Man assumes I'm very passionate about my music career. All of a sudden, like just music stuff back to back. That is very true. I wouldn't call it a career though. It's a hobby. It's a project that I would love to have more time to put into. But I got a lot of stuff I like to spend time on, so I gotta mix and match. Frosty assumes that I am very motivated to win at whatever game it is, but I'm a perfectionist, and if I do something in life, I aspire to do the best I can, and sometimes this can create great videos. I think yes and no. I think my perfectionism is directly proportional to how interested or how much I care about something. If something is really, really important to me, the perfectionism like just elevates a lot higher. If it's just something kind of like fun and silly, then it doesn't matter nearly as much how perfect it is, as long as it's just enjoyable. When you create a video every single day, each individual video becomes less significant because it's such a small portion of your week. And when you're creating daily videos, there's just less time put into it. So I can't be a perfectionist. If I was a perfectionist for daily videos, I wouldn't have daily videos. So that's why sometimes you see some mistakes in my videos. If I'm the one editing them, at least. Radon Trailmakers assumes that while I love metal music, my favorite genre is something else, but only I know of my interest in said genre. No, it's like the music I make it because it's my favorite. So the music that you hear on my music channel is the closest to what I try to search for to listen to on my own. If you can make music, why not make the music that you want to listen to? Dreddy assumes that I got into prog metal through Dream Theater. Maybe? I don't know if Dream Theater was my first like introduction to prog metal, but it was definitely like my top prog metal artists for a while. I'd say I probably invested more time into listening to Dream Theater than probably maybe any other band. Assumption, you have forgotten about some goals that I said I wanted to accomplish in Scrap Mechanic Survival and might not even go for them anymore, like clearing all warehouses for loot boxes and upgrading some vehicles and etc, etc, etc. Yeah, I didn't even remember. I already forgot about clearing the warehouses for loot boxes. Yeah, once chapter 2 comes out, honestly, it's gonna change everything. Anything I had planned is just, we're starting over. We're starting fresh in chapter 2, I'm pretty sure. Corrado assumes that I have more hours in Scrap Mechanic than any of my other main games on the channel combined. I think that's true. Let's do a dive here. All right, so Scrap Mechanic, I've got 3,201.8 hours. Now, Trailmakers is quite obviously the next most played game on my channel. So what do you think I got in Trailmakers compared to Scrap Mechanic? Let's find out. 915 hours, so I haven't even broken 1,000. That is 1/3. So that means that anything under Trailmakers, all of those other games have to be twice what I put into Trailmakers in order to have a combined total of Scrap Mechanic. And I don't think we're getting there. For instance, Instruments of Destruction, didn't even break 100 hours yet. Teardown, only 46 hours. And that's all I have installed right now as far as regular games that I play. So yeah, I think this is a correct assumption. Assumption, you like Nickelback, but it's the kind of music you would listen to when people you don't know very well are around because you feel like the metal stuff would scare them off. I don't think anybody listens to Nickelback around people they don't know. That's like one of those things you try to hide. When you're alone or around your best friends, you blast that kind of music that inspires Catarinth. So I actually used to when I was like a teenager, I was really into Nickelback for a while. That was before I got into like metal. But I also don't blast my kind of music that inspires Catarinth because I know most people, it's a little bit too much for them. When I'm around other people that I don't know for sure if they're into metal, I generally will not blast my kind of music because I don't like I said earlier, I don't like to bother people. So I like to consider that most people aren't into metal, so let's not blast metal unless I know that they're into metal. Crazy Bird assumes that I like 3D printed items and assumes the suspension mugs in the background are made that way, but don't own a machine myself. That's true. Yeah, the stuff in the background was 3D printed by someone named Gav and sent to me, but I do not own a 3D printer. And I wouldn't say like I'm a super fan of 3D printed items. I just think they're cool. I haven't like pursued watching 3D printed content very much or anything like that. So I wouldn't say I'm like passionate about it in any particular way, but I don't dislike it either. It's just like, cool, 3D printed did that thing. Insert name here assumes that I actually like it if people come up to me in person for pictures and stuff, and that I just seem like a cool guy. Interestingly enough, this has only ever happened to me one time as ScrapMan, and it was only like a couple months ago, actually. And I think the reason is because I didn't really get out much in general, so there was just not much opportunity for a person to see me and recognize me and come up and take a picture. There's a lot of filters that go on there. First, somebody has to see me who watches my channel, and then they have to actually like recognize that I'm that same guy on YouTube. And then they actually have to have the confidence or courage to come up and say that to me and then ask for a picture. And then I have to say yes. So there's just a lot of, I don't know how many people have recognized me out in public, if any, other than this one person. Yeah, it's only ever happened once. And I just think it's because I haven't given many opportunities for that. But I do know the person that did recognize me had seen me multiple times before and just wasn't sure if I was actually ScrapMan. But one day he finally came up and was like, I've seen you around, and are you this YouTuber that my son watches? And I'm like, yep, that's me. And then we took a picture. Anatolian assumes that I want to develop or start a studio on a sandbox building game like the games I play. The thought has crossed my mind on occasion about like, how cool would it be to create the perfect game that I would want to play? But I know absolutely nothing about game development and have no experience in any aspect of game development. It's never really left the, that would be cool phase of thought. Lucas assumes that I've played The Last of Us and absolutely loved it. And yeah, that's correct. The Last of Us was a great game. And yeah, I enjoyed Last of Us 2 as well. 94CCF assumes that me, Kana, Mumbo don't play games with each other outside of YouTube videos. We actually have on and off, but I actually don't play games much outside of YouTube videos anymore. Not because a disinterest. There's actually a lot of games I've really been wanting to play, but I just have other priorities right now, and music is one of those things. Bruno Meggiato assumes that I took singing lessons and they helped me breathe and project my voice better while commenting. No, not at all. I actually don't think I project very well, and I know that from experience. I used to do a lot of street performing before I did YouTube, and I used to actually perform on a sidewalk in front of traffic and trying to project at people to be able to hear my show without like a microphone or anything for a while, and I often ended up losing my voice a couple times because of that, because I just wasn't that great at it. But I think that's where my commenting personality or commenting voice developed from. Grimbles assumes that I have a passion for craftsmanship besides gaming and music. Nope, I don't know anything about craftsmanship outside of gaming and music. Survirus assumes that I enjoy playing a single-player game more than playing a multiplayer game. That's more true now than it used to be. There was a while where I really enjoyed like multiplayer shooters and stuff, but as I had less time to just devote into a shooter, it became less enjoyable because you're going up against people that have all the time to devote to the shooter, so you can never really compete with that. So when you get less time to really play on a single game like that, the single player stuff just becomes more fun. And I'm not saying that this isn't like a sad thing. Like this is, I'm just enjoying my time doing other things. I'm choosing to spend my time enjoying other stuff rather than like a multiplayer game. Dargan Man assumes that I secretly love the Scrap Mechanic radio, but don't want to admit it. So if you don't know what this is a reference to, there's an ongoing theme of anytime there's a radio on in Scrap Mechanic, I go and turn it off. It's just become such a regular thing that I think the original meaning behind it has been lost. And it's literally just, I put background music in my videos, and when there's a radio playing, it interferes with the background music. So I like to turn the game music off and just have the sound effects, but no music in the background of the game. So that way the background music that I choose works. So that's why I always turn off the radio. Assumption, you're real good friends with the developers of the games you played a lot on the channel, like Scrap Mechanic, Trailmakers, Zapekist, etc. I wouldn't say like, I think I have a good relationship with the developers. I think Trailmakers is probably they're the most active with their community members and with the content creators. So that's really cool with Trailmakers. But Scrap Mechanic is very, very quiet. Like I think I've maybe sent a total of like 4 or 5 emails over the years that were all just based off of here's some feedback on the latest update and some bugs and stuff, and that's it. Otherwise, they're just very like, they're about as active on their Twitter as they are with content creators as well. Zapekits, when I was playing it, yeah, we got to play with I got to play with the developers and stuff, and yeah, that was really fun. So yeah, I've had no negative experiences with any developers of the games I've played. Dark assumes that I do not climb for grades, but just because I wholeheartedly enjoy it. I haven't talked about it much, but my latest hobby and personal obsession is climbing. I started pretty much exactly a year ago. When I've said I spend a lot of time doing other things that are not video games, it's mostly climbing. I've been going climbing at least 2 to 3 times a week for many hours at a time for the entire year of 2023, and I plan to do it for a very long time. But I think both of these are true. Grade chasing, even though some people say you shouldn't grade chase, it's a game. It's fun. I'm a gamer type person. I like the idea of leveling up and things like that, but I am very like it's like the Dark Souls of hobbies. It's like you're gonna fail over and over again before you make it to before you beat that boss and get to the next level. And I wholeheartedly enjoy that aspect of it too. And I just like climbing for climbing as well. But why not both? I can have both. Headquarter assumes I have a lot of backlog titles on my Steam library, but I can never really record them since they're not in theme with the channel. Not stuff that's not in theme. There's a lot of times I will get a key for a game that is similar to what I play on the channel, and I will install it with the plan to eventually like look at it or play it, but end up either like never getting around to it, or I just kind of think, it's probably not that great of an idea anyway. Or I've tried it and the game just didn't meet my expectations, and I'm like, that's not gonna be good for the channel, so I just dropped it from there. But there have been a handful of things that I meant to record and never got around to it because other content just took priority. Dark Knight assumes that I feel pressured by the people who comment and tell me what games to play or challenges. Not at all. I actually, it either helps me come up with new ideas or doesn't make a difference. Like if it's a suggestion that I'm like, that's not a good idea, I don't feel any pressure at all because I get to do I get to choose what I think is good for the channel. People in the comments will not always understand what may or may not work for the channel. So if they leave an idea or a suggestion that wouldn't be good for the channel, it's really easy to just be like, that wouldn't work, and not feel pressured by it. Toxic Magpie assumes I secretly gave feedback to the devs of Trailmakers after playing with them and helped design the new DLC. Well, it's not much of a secret that the Trailmakers developers are pretty active with their community and their feedback in general, and I have given feedback on stuff, but I don't think I helped design anything about the new DLC. Oscar assumes I'm actually good at singing. Wrong. Why do you think I have somebody else sing on my music? Pluto is a real planet assumes that I was either autistic, ADHD, or both, but that might be just because they're both and they like my content. I don't know. Never been tested, so I don't know. Trogdor Tamer assumes after having released videos for quite some time now, the daily income from YouTube is becoming more stable than before, even despite some major setbacks like the hacking incident. Actually, like, the YouTube income has been surprisingly stable for the past couple of years. There was a lot of ups and downs in the beginning, but it's kind of like leveled off. And my thinking is, I think I've just kind of reached like the upper end of the niche that I exist in, and I'm just like sitting there now, and it's like it's a pretty comfortable spot that I'm very happy with, and it's allowed me to have a lot more comfort as far as like pursuing and investing in other areas of life, like my music channel. Like I've spent a lot on the music channel when it came to like making a music video and having the artwork done and all that stuff. I feel comfortable enough to be able to invest in that stuff, even though I'm not really getting a return on it, just because I care about it and I'm passionate about it. And then recently in this past year, like with the rock climbing and stuff, there's a lot of expensive gear, and I feel fortunate enough that I could just invest in that because it's something that I care about and makes me happy and I want to spend my time on. So I'm very grateful that YouTube has gotten to a place where I can invest in things that bring joy and happiness in my life. So thank you all for watching over all these years and helping me get here. The Best Maidens assumes that I'm very good at cracking whips as per the circus background. I actually put a lot of hours into practicing whip cracking tricks. So it's been years since I've done it, but it's kind of, a lot of those things are kind of like riding a bike. So that is like, it's just one of those weird skills that I happen to have learned how to do. And if you've never thought of whip cracking as like a performance skill, check it out. There's a lot, it's actually really challenging. A lot more challenge and techniques to whip cracking than you'd expect if you've never thought about it before. Dragoneer assumes that I edit some of my videos still, and that my editor gets to have a break once in a while. Yeah, my editor works during the week, so when it comes to things that have to be edited on the weekend, I do that. Or as with like the holiday break and stuff, I had to do some editing over the holiday break, a little bit extra than I have been doing for the rest of the year. Assumption, you still play a lot of the games that you made series on, but don't make videos about them. Pretty much every game I play on the channel was specifically for the channel and not something I continued to play outside of the channel, because if I put time into playing it, I would just record it because it's a channel-based game. But yeah, that actually kind of goes into, there's so much of my content was based around this sandbox genre, and it became my job that now when it comes to games I play for fun, I avoid the sandboxy elements now, just because like I do so much of it for the channel that I just need something different in my day-to-day leisurely life. George well, I guess this isn't an assumption, but it's a question, and I think this is a question that's worth addressing here. Have you ever felt like you were too smart for some of your friends? I don't think this should be a feeling. Like, unless for some reason hanging out with friends was like your hangout was based around solving some type of high-level mathematical equations. I don't think there's really a reason that being too smart should be a thing in a friend group. It's like some people are going to be smarter than others in a friend group, but that's not what having friends is about. If you and your friend group make anybody else feel bad for not being smarter than somebody else in your friend group, I think there are better friends to be had, okay? Alpha Team assumes that I have a lot of siblings, hence why I know and like My Little Pony. In addition, my favorite is either Rainbow Dash or Twilight Sparkle. I don't have a lot of siblings. I actually grew up an only child, but I do have a half-sister that I did not grow up with. And I know of My Little Pony, but it's not something I've ever really like watched or consumed. My wife is a big fan of My Little Pony, so that's really all of my Little Pony knowledge just comes from just what I've heard from my wife. So I don't have a favorite. I don't know all their names or like much about them at all. Kitty assumes I will forget the ScrapMan rewind for the third time in a row. I don't know if I've forgot it that many times. I didn't forget it ever. I chose not to do it last year, and I'm also not going to do it this year just because I don't have the time for those videos anymore. Like those videos take like a week to make because I have to go through a year's worth of hundreds of videos and select like the best moments, and it just takes so long, and I just don't have time for that. I don't have time for that anymore. I've invested so much time into other aspects of my life now, which I think is a good thing. I think it's a much better thing. If you like those types of rewinds, I do regret that they aren't there for you anymore, but I think it's better overall that I don't have to stress over that kind of video. Boris assumes I really enjoy unplanned traveling. This is the very opposite of me, just because if I can't do unplanned traveling, because I have a channel that I release daily videos on. So if I'm going to do any type of traveling, I need to pre-record content and have that ready to go. Then I got to make sure that the dogs are taken care of and make sure just everything is good to go before I travel. I'm incapable of unplanned traveling, basically. Assumption, when you're playing puzzle challenges on Scrap Mechanic, you're actually a god at finding them and have to act like you can't for more content and not a short video. I don't think I've ever like pretended something like for a video. Like the closest I think I've ever come to that is not pretending something, but rather redoing something and pretending like it was the first time because something messed up and made the first thing like not work for the video for whatever reason. But that is a very, very rare circumstance, and it's only like just if that needs to happen, that's when it happens. I assume that you got a lot of patience, never let anger take control when you can't do something, it doesn't go as planned, like rage quit for instance. As if this was another person with ADHD or some they flip if and then goes their way. I think I understand. I think basically you're assuming that I'm a patient person that doesn't like get super frustrated or angry, particularly at games. And yeah, that's true. Rage quitting isn't really a thing I do. The closest I'll get to that is to be like, I'm not really having fun playing this game anymore, so maybe I should just stop playing. But I don't really get like angry or yell or get frustrated or things like that. I might like play it up in a fun way for like a video or something, but like internally, I'm not like, they're games. They're supposed to be fun, so just have fun. Kanish assumes that I am not scaling my channel in terms of types of games, clickbaits, or attracting more subscribers because I found a stable, sustainable number of followers and source of income. And I have other things to work on, which you do not get to see. That's actually surprisingly accurate. Like, there's a lot that I could do for my channel that could potentially get a lot more income. Like, I could take way more sponsorships than I take. Like, I get at least a few emails a day asking for a sponsor spot for like this product or this service or this or whatever thing. But I ignore all of that because I'm like, I don't use that product and I'm not interested in that product. So why would I promote that product? And only twice has there ever been a thing that I was like, that I will take a sponsorship on because I was interested in it anyway. And those two things were Hot Wheels Unleashed, the first video of Hot Wheels Unleashed, and then Robocraft 2. And then clickbait, it's just, I don't want to be dishonest with my content, so I don't like to clickbait. Obviously, I want to make things more clickable when possible, but it's I'm just not very good at Photoshop, so my thumbnails aren't that great. But I think I mentioned earlier that I have found like a sustainable level in my niche, and I think I've kind of reached the top where it's leveled out. So there's not a whole lot of growth without expanding into some other type of content, but there's also a lot of risk with expanding into some other type of content because I don't want to alienate my current audience and then fail at obtaining that bigger chunk of audience. So that would potentially sacrifice what is already stable. So there's a lot of consideration. I think about this stuff all the time too, because it would be great to be able to expand my source of income, but I don't want to do it in a risky way or in a way that sacrifices any type of integrity. So I'm just happy sticking with where I'm at right now until I find a better option for expansion. All right, and I have scrolled through a lot of these. I've been recording for an hour and a half. I have no idea how long the video is gonna end up being, but I think, like, I hope that's a good summary of everything that has been assumed about me. I hope I didn't miss anything significant, but maybe there'll be another one next year. So think about your assumptions this year, and I'll do this again next year because it was kind of fun. So I'm curious from you guys, out of everything addressed in this video, what was the most surprising to you? Was there something that you were like, that was not the answer I was expecting? Let me know that down in the comments below. So I hope you guys all had a great new year, and I'm looking forward to 2024. And if you guys enjoyed this video, maybe you might want to check out some of my previous Q&A or assumptions videos. Maybe there's some other stuff that wasn't addressed here that may have been more relevant back then, but you can also learn about and get a little glimpse of past ScrapMan. But you can check some other stuff on the end screen right here. Hope this video has earned your subscription. Anyway, this has been ScrapMan, and I'll see you next time. Bye.